Imagine pulling up to a gas station in America, glancing at the sign and doing a double take. Regular, 9.87 a gallon. You think it's a glitch. Maybe someone hacked the sign. Maybe you're still half asleep. But it's real. And suddenly, filling up your car costs more than your weekly grocery bill. Here's the uncomfortable truth. $10 gas isn't a sci-fi scenario. It's not impossible, and it wouldn't arrive with fireworks or a dramatic announcement. It would creep in, quietly, through a series of decisions most people barely notice. So what would actually happen if gas hit $10 in America? Not hypothetically, not emotionally, mechanically. Let's start with why this question matters right now. For decades, cheap gas has been one of America's hidden superpowers. It shaped how cities were built, why suburbs exploded, why people commute 40 miles without thinking twice, why Amazon can deliver a package overnight for the price of a coffee. Gas isn't just fuel, it's the bloodstream of the U.S. economy. And when the bloodstream gets expensive, every organ feels it. Most people assume gas prices are just about oil, supply and demand, simple. But that's like saying airplane crashes are just about gravity. Yes, oil matters, but gas prices are a stack of systems sitting on top of each other. Crude oil prices, refining capacity, transportation bottlenecks, taxes, state and federal, environmental regulations, currency strength, geopolitics. And the final number you see on that glowing sign? That's the bill for all of it. Right now, Americans are psychologically anchored to a number. $3 feels normal, 4 feels annoying, 5 feels like a crisis. But history tells a different story. In real terms, adjusted for inflation, Americans have paid the equivalent of today's $7 to $8 gas before, most notably during the 1970s oil shocks. The difference? Back then, cars were inefficient, wages were lower, and the economy was far less leveraged. Today, everything is optimized for cheap energy, which makes the system more fragile. So how does gas actually get to $10? Not overnight, not from one headline, but through pressure. Picture global oil supply tightening, maybe not collapsing, just tightening. OPEC cuts production to protect prices. U.S. shale producers hesitate to expand because investors demand profits, not growth. Refineries, many of which closed during COVID, can't ramp up fast enough. Then add geopolitical stress, a shipping disruption, a regional conflict, sanctions. Nothing dramatic, just enough friction. Oil goes to $120 a barrel, then $150. At that level, gas doesn't politely stop at $6, it accelerates. Because refineries bid aggressively for crude. Transport costs rise, retail margins stretch. And then comes the part nobody likes to talk about: taxes. In states like California, gas already carries over $1 per gallon in taxes and fees. When the base price rises, those taxes don't shrink, they stack. That's how you get to $8 gas without oil collapsing. And that's how $10 becomes plausible. Now zoom in on the average American household. At $10 a gallon, a typical commuter driving 1,000 miles a month in a modest car could spend $400 to $600 just on fuel. That's not inconvenience money. That's rent money. That's grocery money. That's healthcare money. And here's the quiet danger. Gas is regressive. The wealthier you are, the smaller a share of your income gas represents. But for lower and middle-income households, fuel costs hit hard and fast. People don't adjust smoothly. They cut spending elsewhere. They miss payments. They rack up credit card debt. And the ripple effects spread. Delivery trucks cost more to operate. Groceries get more expensive, not because farmers are greedy, but because food travels thousands of miles. Construction slows. Small businesses with thin margins feel suffocated. Inflation doesn't scream, it leaks. Now comes the irony. High gas prices are often framed as temporary pain for long-term gain. People will drive less, they'll buy electric cars, the market will adapt. Some of that is true, but adaptation takes time, and time is expensive. EV adoption doesn't flip a switch. Charging infrastructure doesn't appear overnight. Public transit systems can't suddenly absorb millions of commuters who've never used them. In the short run, people are stuck. And when people feel trapped financially, psychology changes. Consumer confidence drops, spending slows, recession risks rise. Now here's where the math gets uncomfortable. Gas at $10 doesn't just raise prices, it tightens monetary policy without the Federal Reserve lifting a finger. It acts like a tax increase on the entire economy, which means the Fed gets boxed in. If inflation is already elevated, they can't cut rates easily. If growth slows, they can't stimulate without making inflation worse. That's when policy errors happen. Now let's talk about what won't save the day. The Strategic Petroleum Reserve? Helpful, but limited. It's a buffer, not a solution. Drilling more? Takes years, not months. Price controls? Historically disastrous. The uncomfortable reality is that once gas approaches extreme levels, the system doesn't gently correct, it overcorrects. Demand destruction kicks in. People stop traveling, businesses pull back, the economy slows, sometimes sharply. That's often what eventually brings prices down, not abundance, pain. And this is where the story gets bigger than gas. Because $10 gas isn't really about fuel, it's about fragility. A system built on the assumption that energy will stay cheap forever. A culture designed around distance. An economy that rewards efficiency but punishes resilience. The question isn't, would Americans survive $10 gas? They would. The real question is what would break first? Household finances? Small businesses? Political stability? Trust in institutions? And maybe the most unsettling question of all, if gas hitting $10 feels unthinkable today, what else are we assuming can never happen simply because it hasn't yet?